Don't come to Singapore. Don't come to Singapore if... Are you planning to come to Singapore? Then this video is for you. I'm going to talk about some pros and cons that you need to know and to be aware of before you travel to Singapore. Number one, safety. It's my favorite topic, but it's just so out of this world, and you won't find a safer place than Singapore. Coming from Switzerland, which is considered to be a very safe country itself, Singapore takes everything I've ever seen to the next level. To give you an example, I can leave my phone on the bus stop or at a restaurant anywhere else. I can come back 1 hour later and it's still there. Don't try this in Switzerland. It's gonna be gone for sure. The price you pay for such high safety is that there are surveillance cameras all over the city. But I mean, we don't have anything to hide anyway, so we really get to enjoy one of the most secure cities all over the world. Especially for people living here with children and family, this is such a pro, as they never have to worry about their children going to school, or even women walking home at 3 a.m. This is not an issue. You can walk by yourself any time of the day and you will always feel secure. And for tourists, imagine you don't have to worry about your things get stolen or you get pickpockets. This is not an issue. Number two, cleanliness. And I've been living here for 1.5 years and I think I already started to take it for granted. But the city is so clean. You cannot find any trash on the floor. There are bins everywhere. People dispose their trash in the bins just as they're supposed to. MRT stations, you won't find anything on the floor. You probably could eat from the floor. It is so clean and it makes the city just so nice to walk around, and you just feel at home. You feel like it's your living room. People really take care about their city, which is one of the most beautiful things. Why the city is so clean, I will talk about it a bit later in the video, but there are strict rules and fines, and you do not want to get caught by littering or smoking cigarettes and throwing it on the floor. Trust me, don't do that. Because if you get caught littering, it costs you $300 first time. And if you do it multiple times, up to $5,000 and even jail. Number three, even if you're a tourist, public transport is your best way to go. It is super clean, it is super efficient, it is super affordable. It's literally $2 maximum by MRT and $1 by bus. The system is great, you can get anywhere. MRTs come within a few minutes. If you miss one, you can just take the next one. Super accessible, your way to go. And the good part is you don't even need to buy an extra ticket, or you need to buy a pass or wait in line to, I don't know, buy anything to take the public transport. You can literally use your own credit card. You can also pay by PayWave with your phone, which has a credit card installed, or you can also use your Apple Watch to just tap and use the MRT. Very efficient. The best way to get around by public transport is just use Google Maps. I've been doing that for my entire time here, and I always found my way super easy. Number four, food scene. Singaporeans are huge foodies, and there is no cuisine you cannot find in Singapore. From Malay to Indian to Western food, obviously local Singaporean foods, anything that your heart desires, you will find it in Singapore. Dive into Singapore's great food scene, you will not regret it, and it's super cheap as well. If you're in Singapore and you've never been to hawker centers, this is your sign. These are outdoor or indoor kind of food centers with a lot of different stalls with different cuisines or different dishes. And a dish is only between 3 and 5 Singapore dollars, which makes you try a lot of different things. It's one of the best things and the things I love the most about Singapore. Some of the most popular hawker centers are Maxwell, La Passat, Newton. These are considered to be a bit overpriced and crowded, but they are also the most city located ones, and you will probably find them the easiest to get to. Another nice food center is on East Coast Road, Changi Village, and it has one of the best sambal stingrays I've ever had and fresh seafood. So if you have more time, definitely also explore the East Coast for food. Number five, language, which makes it super easy for people to travel to, because English is widely common here. Everyone speaks English. You can ask anyone in English, order food. I've been only speaking English for 1.5 years, and I never ever had any troubles or issues communicating with anyone. Now let's talk about some things that you want to consider before coming to Singapore that are maybe less optimal. So Don't come to Singapore if you want to go on a beach holiday, because Singapore has a beach, Sentosa Island, but it is probably not the most beautiful beach compared to other places in Asia. You don't really come to Singapore to chill on the beach for a week. Go to Malaysia, go to Thailand. Sentosa Island is great for a day. There are different beach clubs, which is great, but it's not the most beautiful beach I've ever seen. It does the job to have a swim in the sea, but don't expect the most beautiful beach. Number 2, as mentioned before, you wanna stick to the rules because otherwise you are in serious trouble. To give you some examples, importing chewing gum will cost you $10,000. Just importing. I mean, yeah, just don't do it. Smoking in public areas can cost you $200. And I know what you think. Well, they're not gonna catch me. Trust me, they will. They caught my mother smoking on Orchard, which probably wasn't the most clever place to smoke anyway. But they will come after you and they will make sure that you're gonna pay this amount. And if you're not able to identify you when they see you smoking and they give you the fine, you have to go to the police station and then it costs you $1,000. There are designated smoking areas. You can usually find these designated areas behind shopping malls. Just have a look out. There are in yellow signs on the street, and usually you can see a bunch of people crowded next to an ashtray. Also, don't drink and eat in public transport. It will cost you up to $500. Also, for tourists, super important, coming from Thailand where the drug policy is not very that strict, they are not joking about their drug policies. And here in Singapore, the death penalty is still in place and you can get caned, you can get deported. There are many other terrible things happening to you if they catch you with drugs, especially smoking weed, which in other countries might be allowed. Don't do it in Singapore. Also important to know, drinking is quite expensive. So if you're looking for a bachelorette or bachelor weekend here in Singapore to go out and drinking, it's probably not the place for you. A pint of beer is between 12 and 15 Singapore dollars. A glass of wine between 15 and 20 Singapore dollars. A cocktail can go up to 30 Singapore dollars at fancy places with a good view, but it's usually between 18 and 25. But yeah, a nice cocktail on your holiday with a beautiful view on the skyline is definitely worth it, but definitely not cheap to go out party and drinking here. And now last one, which is for me one of the pros, but definitely not to be underestimated, is the weather. A lot of people struggle with the heat, especially the humidity. It has up to 90% humidity, which coming from a cold place can be really intense for you. So if you don't like the heat, if you don't like warm weather, this place is not for you. Be prepared with sunscreen, sun hat, drink a lot of water. I know this sounds so, it sounds like I'm your mom, but I've seen people fainting in the heat, especially when they're dealing with jet lag. It also can rain in the rainy season from November to January, February quite often, which means that you're planning an outdoor activity and then it rains all day. Might not be the best time to visit. But it also is quite refreshing when it starts raining and it's still 30 degrees, which I just love. I also love the rain. For me, it is never too hot. I'm 100% fan of the humidity, but it's not for everyone. So be aware, it is 365 days of the year, it's 30 degrees plus. So if you're a sun seeker like me, this is for you. If you cannot deal with the sweat and the heat, you might choose a different destination for your vacation. I've been living in Singapore for 1.5 years. It is my happy place. I can only recommend anyone to come to Singapore. There's lots to explore, there's lots to do. Check out my other videos for recommendations what to do, and follow me on Instagram to see what living in Singapore looks like. Bye!